This is Joseph Timmons with Xombiewoof Magazine. I want to welcome you to In the Groove, our exclusive podcast series through Xombiewoof Magazine off of our website. And this is where we get to talk to some of the best and greatest musicians of our time and let you know what they're doing. And today I have a special treat for you. I am interviewing Maxxxwell Carlisle. Now, he is the guitarist for Hellion, as well as his own magnificent solo career in metal. And I'm going to bring him on the line, and we're going to talk about what's been going on and let you know what's going on next. So, Maxxxwell, if you would.
How you doing, man?
I always get people with that. They're like, what do I say first? Okay. So, a couple things. I did a little research on you here, and this is the stunning expose that we go through. And I like the sound of paper on the desk. It makes me sound all official here. So, as well as being a massive shred guitarist with a long legacy of music in your short but sweet lifetime, you're a competitive bodybuilder?
Yeah, that's true. I've been doing music and, been involved in the bodybuilding / fitness world I've been doing both of those things for about the same length of time. We're looking at, probably more like, about 15 years on both of them. I competed in many bodybuilding competitions, and even these days, obviously I'm doing my solo band, I'm doing a lot of touring with Hellion, so my schedule is pretty intense these days, but I still train in the gym all the time, and eat my chicken breasts and all that good stuff. And
well, I just kind of, I kind of picture you going to the gym. I picture you going to the gym, lifting all those big heavy weights, and then going to the studio and picking up guitar, and it like flies out of your hand through the wall or something.
I actually do have a problem with I break the knobs on my guitars like all the time.
I'm
like
not
the volume knobs in particular, because I'll be playing, and you're on stage. You get to a moment where you have to be real quiet, and I slam the volume knob down, and then I've broken. I don't know, probably 20 volume knobs, over the course of a few years.
Well, there's some guitar companies that are now making guitars out of solid steel and metal. Maybe we should make sure you get those kind of guitars. Don't
I need an endorsement. Solid steel guitars.
So, touring with Hellion, Anne Boleyn is just an amazing person. So, touring with Hellion, what is that like?
Oh, it's great. It's a great experience. Even though, I've been playing for a long time, but in that band, I'm kind of the new kid in the band. And, Hellion, it's been around since the early to mid 80s, and the band, kind of took a hiatus in the 2000s, and then, just came back, just recently, but came back real strong, and I was lucky enough to get the gig And I mean, it's been great. I mean, touring with Anne, you know, like you said, she's an incredible person, incredible performer, and the rest of the lineup is killer too. I mean, Simon Wright and Scott Warren, and I mean, everybody else involved is really top-notch people. It's just been a great experience for me.
And you got to work with Ken Scott, I believe?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, he's, you know, legendary British producer. I mean, he's worked with everybody from the Beatles to the Stones, you know, to, I mean, just the who's who of great artists, you know. And not, you know, he hasn't worked with a lot of metal bands. You know, he's more of a, you know, rock and roll and even some pop stuff. But yeah, I mean, he produced, engineered, and kind of co-produced the new album, and it was, I mean, that was just another thing. I mean, he's this great British guy, you know, and he's got this great British accent, you know, and he's been around the world a million times, and so he'll like sit in the studio and he'll like kick his feet up on the console and drink tea and tell you stories about John Lennon and this kind of thing. So I mean, that was, I would buy a ticket to that, you know.
I would have a problem being in a room with someone like that because I would be almost like compelled to say, so Monty Python, what's up with that? And then like he'd have to like beat me up and all that stuff. So, how's your queen? So
yeah, no, he's a great guy. He was a character, a lot of fun to work with.
So let's talk about your solo career. I mean, I'm really interested in learning more about that, and I'm sure our followers and readers that are familiar with your work, and even those that are not familiar with your work, would like to hear more about that. I mean, I've listened to your music, and it's very, you know, well, no way of putting it, it's very metal, very 80s metal, but it's not tired, stagnant, lame. Oh, we're playing the same thing everyone else plays down on Sunset Strip. I mean, this is really good material, and I'm probably not even listening to the newest stuff, but I mean, I really like your work, and it's just the drive that you have when you're playing comes through the music. I mean, what is it like for you in the studio? And I know this is kind of like a question everybody asks, so what's it like working in an album? I mean, I don't want to, I'm not trying to be all fangirl on you or anything, but it's just, it's an amazing process, and I like asking each artist that I talk to about their specific work. I mean, what it was like for them. That way, people that don't go in the studio know exactly how much work it is. Because, I mean, everybody just thinks you stand there going, well, I'm going to play the G chord. You know, they don't know what it's like. So, you know, tell us the story.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm the kind of, I mean, one of the reasons I enjoy my solo stuff so much is I'm the kind of musician where I really have a very clear idea of what I want to get, you know, like when I start working on something. I mean, I'm not the kind of guy who will go in the studio and just be like, hey, let's just jam and see what comes out. You know, I mean, I don't really do things like that. I really have a clear idea of what the end result, you know, that I'm really going for when I start. And so for me, it's you know, I hesitate to use the word calculated because that makes it sound like there's no artistic, you know, thing involved. But in a way that is true. And I mean, I really enjoy, you know, technical music. I mean, that's one reason why a lot of my influences are very clear. I mean, it's like you said, it's clearly, you know, an 80s metal foundation. But then I try to build on that. I try to add new elements, whether it's different instruments that haven't been used before in a certain combination, or melodic ideas, and just different combinations of elements that maybe haven't been explored as much as they could be, you know. So, yeah, I mean, obviously the stuff I'm influenced by, I mean, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, Sabotage, I mean, Dio, you know, all these great classic metal artists. That's the stuff that my roots are really in, but, you know, yeah, I mean, you can't just be doing covers. I mean, you have to, you know, do something new and something that pushes the envelope. So that's what I try to do. I hope I'm, you know, achieving that.
a flash of light, history will burn, and on we'll march to destiny. Time crisis calls to me, stealing the future and all the energy. Time crisis before my eyes, past the dark horizon, we ride the final skies.
I'd say from your music that is more than definitely there. I mean, there's a lot of punch to it. It's, I mean, you can tell it's not like oversampled or overworked. I mean, you don't have somebody there with Pro Tools just going crazy. I mean, you know, you're actually putting in the blood, the sweat, and the tears, and it comes through when listening to every song. And you know, during the podcast, like I, you know, said, we're going to be playing clips of the songs, not full songs. I want people to buy your albums, so you know. We're going to go that route, but I'm looking at your discography here, and 2009, Ramming Speed, 2010, you had work here, a duet with electric guitar. You worked on Speed Force, Hands Without Shadows, Visions of Victory, Full Metal Thunder, and the list just goes on. And I mean, you've been very active. I mean, when do you sleep? I mean, do you ever get to sleep?
Occasionally I do. Let's see. Usually the third Tuesday of every month, I take that day off, and I get a little sleep, but that's about it. So. No, I mean I enjoy being busy. You know, I like having things to work on and things I'm working towards. You know, that's just kind of how I operate. If I'm sitting still, you know, if I have nothing to do, I mean, I get really antsy and I get stressed out and that kind of thing.
So who are some of the, I mean, obviously, Hellion, but some of the other people that you've worked with that you might want to think, well, these people were influences of mine, and now I actually get to be on stage next to them or in the studio with them. I mean, who are some of the people you've worked with that, you know, whose lives have you touched, so to speak, with your music in the industry?
Yeah, well, I mean, as far as, I mean, you mentioned one of the albums you mentioned in my discography, Hands Without Shadows. That's a Michelangelo Badio album, who's a phenomenal, just, you know, world-class shred guitarist. And I worked actually on two of his albums. I worked on that one and then another one more recently called Intermezzo, which actually has been nominated for by Guitar World for like Shred Album of the Year or something like that, which is really cool. But
wow.
So I mean, I've gotten to work with him on several occasions, which has been just fantastic for me because obviously he was a big influence of mine in terms of how I developed certain techniques and that kind of stuff, and he's also an influence in almost kind of a business way, or just the way he approaches the industry. I mean, he's really, I mean, people give him a hard time about, you know, he does a lot of clinics, you know, like more clinics than band performances and things like that. But I mean, he's really made some good decisions as far as the business goes. So, you know, there have been playing things that I've learned from him, and a lot of other things too. The duet track, that was a single that was also released on my Speed Force album, which was an instrumental album. That was with a cellist named Tina Guo, who's this phenomenal world-class cellist. She played electric cello on that thing. It was like a shred, you know, like a neoclassical shred guitar cello track. And I mean, she went on
money to see
after that. Right.
That I would actually really
she went
like
on after that to work with Cirque du Soleil and just some phenomenal acts, you know, later on.
Wow. Wait, I'm trying to wrap my head around that. I'm sorry. It's like shred cello. I mean,
oh yeah, no, yeah. I mean, you wouldn't think of it. I mean, you think of cello as, oh, you're sitting down and, you know, and do some nice classical elevator music or something. But no, I mean, it's like it's an electric cello. It's amplified with distortion. I mean, you know, you get to use a lot of the same effects pedals and so forth that you would with the guitar, and it's a haunting, just intense sound, you know, that she can get out of this thing. And I mean, it's anybody who, you know, you can go hear a sample of that track or something on iTunes, and it's pretty killer, you know.
All right, so next question here, and mind you, this is going to be aired on the internet where thousands of people will be able to hear it in just a moment. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to interview Fang von Rathenstein from Lords of the Trident.
Yes. The infamous,
he needs help. But in a good way. But he did guest vocals on Visions of Speed and Thunder. I mean, how is that? I mean, because I listen to his music. He's got a certain flavor to it. And talking to him, obviously it's a persona, but personas are only just 2 steps to the left of what a person actually is. So after talking to him, I realized, this is the guy that I want to party, but not meet in a dark alley. So, I mean, how is it working with him? I mean, it must have been a blast.
Oh, it was a blast. I mean, definitely, you have to, one of the things about collaborating with any other musician is you're not just collaborating in a musical sense. I mean, it's like, you have to collaborate with that person's personality, and of course that comes across in the music. But, I mean, the thing with Fang is, he did a killer job. The work was just flawless and that kind of thing, but I had to kind of jump through some hoops in order to have the music presented to him properly. When I called him, he was in the middle of drilling a mine shaft down about 10 miles underneath his hometown so he could build an underground rehearsal space down there. So I had to let him finish that project, right? And then once he wanted me to put the backing tracks, put the music and stuff and like the scratch vocals that I'd worked on for him. I had to send that on a camel, okay, over to Wisconsin. And camels don't do well in Wisconsin because it's too cold for them. So, I had to get blankets and all this stuff. I mean, it was this long process. And finally I got over there, and then he emailed me the tracks and it was done with. But I mean, yeah, in the end it came out great, but man, that was a chore.
Yeah, I say it every podcast. I love my job. This is so cool. So, the 3 tracks that we've been playing throughout the podcast, March with Dragons, March with Dragons, Power of Metal Compels, and Call of Metal. I mean, these are very, to me, and, again, not being all fangirl, yay, very iconic in design. I mean, it's definitely something to get the blood boiling and, you get the goosebumps and everything else when you listen to it. I mean, performing live, what sort of response are you getting from the people that you're playing for? I mean, when they hear these tracks, they just, like, lose it on you and you have to, like, run for cover? Or, I mean, what's it like?
Well, in all honesty, I mean, it's a mixture. One of the challenges as an artist, when you're an independent artist, one of the challenges with live shows is making sure you do shows with other bands or other acts that are going to fit well with yours, because, I live in Los Angeles, and this is like, this is the home of every possible sleazy music business, thing that can happen.
Yeah.
And so there's all these promoters, who will try and set up shows with just whatever bands they can pull out of their ass, and so, my power metal band will show up, and the band opening for us will be like, a tambourine and like a panpipe duet or something like that. And so
I've been to shows like so that.
That crowd is there, and then we go on, and they, the people in the audience, their hair falls out and they just kind of turn to dust, and it's things like that. So no, I mean, when the situation is right, when you get on a proper metal bill, and you get booked with other bands that are going to work well, then it's fantastic. Then the reaction is great, because people who are into the kind of metal that I do, I mean, they're super passionate about it. You know what I mean? It's not like a casual. There are no casual metal fans, at least in the stuff I'm doing. So, I mean, people who love it really love it. So it's just a matter of getting in front of the right audience.
You are the master of the world. The night wind screams your name. The keeper of the sacred power. Guarding the metal plane. Hammer the sky. The fire wind burns in my sight. Open the gate. March to the fortress and hide. Fall. Full metal thunder. Cutting through the sun, it's your destiny. Oh, full metal thunder, ruling the darkness and light. Oh, full metal thunder, forcing the stone to your victory. Oh, full metal thunder, burning with my sacred light. Casting your sword to the darkness, tearing the shield from your arm. Weapons of ancient magic, the tower will sound the alarm. High on the mountain, the warlords will meet there at dawn. Land the attack, united the legions are strong. Oh, full metal thunder, cutting through the sun, it's your destiny. Oh, full metal thunder, ruling the darkness and light. Oh, full metal thunder, forcing the storm.
It's amazing. It's like I've gone to LA and seen like what you just said, where we're expecting to see a band like yours, and then the opening act comes out, and you're like, huh? Or you guys play, and then somebody else comes on. It's like, well, that has nothing to do with it. And it's always wanted to find out from other artists, what like their favorite show was, what their worst show was. I mean, if you could have something never happen again, this one gig you had that you would hope and pray never happen again, and that nobody had video of, which would that be?
Well, there was something that happened actually fairly recently on the Hellion tour, the North American Hellion tour.
Uh-oh.
And it was during the set, I would do an extended solo where it's just me, noodling and doing my crazy guitar stuff. It's just kind of my time in the spotlight or whatever. So, and at the end of this thing, I always, I hold the guitar up and I shake it and I do all these, theatrics and this kind of thing. And then, we kind of segue into the next song. And so I do my whole thing, and I shake the guitar, and I'm like, okay, great, and everybody's clapping, and, the solo went great, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I put the guitar back on, and I did, I don't know exactly how I did it, but I did the classic rookie mistake, and the strap came off the guitar, right?
Uh-oh.
So, but the guitar falls, but I catch the thing, right?
Uh-huh.
So I'm trying to the next song is starting, and I'm like fumbling around with it, and I'm on stage in front of everybody, and so the tour manager from the side of the stage, he sees that I'm having issues, right, and so he runs out onto the stage, but he didn't know what the problem was. He thought there was something wrong with the guitar, like something broke in the guitar. I was just trying to put the strap back on, so he runs out, grabs the guitar from me, and then runs off stage. Okay. And what he was doing is he was going off stage to grab my backup guitar, right? But there was nothing wrong with that guitar. And so he runs off stage, and there's this moment where I'm standing there like, what the hell is this guy doing? And then I start running after him, so he's running across the stage, and I'm running after him, like with my hands out. I'm like, no, bring it back, this kind of thing. And then, of course, this is like, the lights are on, everybody sees this thing, and it's just this ridiculous, act, and
somebody out there has
really
video of that.
If that never happened again, But I mean, you got to roll with the punches and make the best of it.
Well, you're definitely a professional, because I mean, something like that happened, I'd be like, all right, hang it up time. I mean, but I'm a wuss. I'll admit it. I just couldn't take that kind of pressure. I mean, it's an amazing job that you have, and the world is a better place for people like you being in it. So, what's coming up next? What is coming up next for Maxxxwell Carlisle? Where are you going to be? Where are you going to play? What's going on?
Well, there's stuff on both fronts. There's stuff going on with my solo band and stuff going on with Hellion. The last tour with Hellion was a big success. One of the coolest things was we got a lot of great, multi-tracked live recordings from a lot of the shows. So we're going to be mixing that stuff, and we're going to release a live record that's going to come out in the first half of 2015. So that's going to be really cool. We're working on a bunch of new shows. A bunch of new Hellion touring, hopefully getting over to Europe in this year, which is going to be awesome. We're working on, new songs that are going to be studio tracks. And so that whole Hellion machine is just blasting forward and kicking ass. And then with my solo band, I've got a new album called The Visions of Speed and Thunder. We kind of talked about the title track earlier that Fang sings on.
Mm-hmm.
And that is coming out. It's coming out February 13th in Europe and February 20th in the rest of the world. And I got a European distribution deal for that, so it's going to be very well distributed and available, and that's a great thing for me. So that's coming out, and that's what that is basically. Is it's part compilation and part new songs, and I basically went through and took some choice tracks from my previous releases and remixed and remastered all of them, and then there's some brand new tracks in there too. So if somebody just wants to go out and get a really solid picture of what I'm about in terms of my solo material, that's the thing for them to grab.
And where can they pick up your material online?
Well, all the usual places. I mean, if you want to do downloads, you can go to Amazon, you can go to iTunes. If you want physical products, you can go right to my web store. Go to my website, Maxxxwell.com. That's Maxxxwell spelled with 3 X's. I've got a web store. I'll ship stuff anywhere in the world. And, all good things. I think there's even some of my stuff floating around on eBay.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, you mentioned about your material being released in Europe. It's becoming a really, really great place over there for metal. A lot of bands are touring and putting out their material, and it's really hitting Europe scene. And then, of course, it comes here, and we're like, well, why didn't we get it first?
Yeah,
you got to be there.
Definitely, that happens in Japan too. Japan gets, they'll get 5 extra songs that nobody else gets and things like that.
Well, I want 5 extra songs. All right, well, Maxxxwell, thank you very much for being on In the Groove with Xombiewoof Magazine and myself. And just keep rock on. We're going to go ahead and end out the podcast with the Call of Metal. And just want to encourage people to check out your site, check you out when you're playing with Hellion, and just, live the metal life, because, I mean, it is just rocking. So you have yourself a great evening. Thank you very much. And to all of our fans, followers, listeners, weird strangers hanging out, lurking in the corners, giggling to themselves, this is Joseph Timmons. I'm with Magazine. Peace out.